Hi everyone, welcome to the Game 2 video of the Boros Taxes versus Jeskai Tempo matchup. Here we are testing the Boros Taxes decklist, and there we go, let's see who starts. And Elena is going to start. She picked rock and I picked scissors, so she gets to start. If you haven't watched the first game, you can find the link in the description above. And let's see how this starts. It starts with me having a really good hand, plains, plateau, something to do in the turn 1, something to do in turn 2, a very good mix between land tax, blood moon, preacher. Seems like I have all the tools to manage creatures and punish the opponent's mana base. On the other hand, Elena seems to have Volcanic Island, Sol Ring, which she's playing. She also has a Chaos Orb and she's deploying it immediately. And she also seems to have an Ancestral Recall and a counterspell. Let's see if she has a little bit of pressure to be applied during the first turns. Nevertheless, there is a Chaos Orb, and I will start with land tax. I was planning on hide it for a while, but she already knows that she's playing against a land tax deck, so I'm pretty sure she's planning to not play as many lands as she could. This means that since I played beginning from, I was on the draw, not on the play, means that I drew an extra card, but also that I am behind on the development of mana or lands. Which means if she plays a land right now, I will be able to activate the land tax. And she doesn't, because obviously she has seen already in the previous game how powerful it is in the mid game when I find the Winds of Change to just replace basic lands with actual good cards. My draw seems to be a White Knight, which is actually very good because I was planning on not doing anything yet during the second turn. Oh yes, I had a second White Knight, which means that this is what I'm going to start playing. It doesn't really create any good relevant impact against Jeskai Tempo other than taking away the removals, and this is what is happening. I so much prefer to sacrifice my White Knights to Lightning Bolts, and then later on when the King Suleimans show up, I would just enjoy that there are no more removals in my opponent's hand. So now she's reconsidering. She played originally a Volcanic Island as the second land, but she realized if she plans to not play any more lands for the rest of the game, she needed a better color combination. So since we are not in a hard tournament or anything, she just took back that decision and decided to play City of Brass instead. Now on my side of the battlefield, I deploy the second White Knight because I really want to exhaust every single piece of removal that Elena could have in her hand. Let's see if this is going to be... No, this is not removal, but rather Ancestral Recall, which is very bad news for me because there's nothing good coming out of 3 free cards for my opponent. But let's see how this works for her, because apparently she's now in the plan of not playing any more lands. Yeah, she was really about to play that Mishra's Factory. Let's see if she commits to this strategy of disabling my land tax by not playing any more lands. This is pretty much like in the in the sketch that I recorded for the old school white mages, because she really wants to play that land, but it seems like land tax is preventing her from doing it. That must be a really, really terrible feeling. And she decides to say go. There is no land drop from her, so there is an attack from my side. It's going to be the first blood. Will it be damage or not? She's considering. Maybe she has a Psionic Blast in her hand. It looks like she has, in addition to the Mishra's Factory, a Psionic Blast. There's a lot of blue. I could imagine she has also a counterspell, but she takes the damage. She goes down to 18, and I continue adding pressure. I'm going to play a land because I believe that if White Knight was able to do damage, then it seems like the coast is clear to not immediately find any sort of damage or removal. She has, however, a Psionic Blast, and Preacher is not a really friendly creature against Jeskai Tempo, mainly because she has only creatures to kill me. So let's see what's her angle now. Will she decide to counter it? She can't because she doesn't have 2 blue mana. She cast Ancestral Recall in her turn, which may have been... I don't know if it was a mistake. If she had a counterspell, probably. Let's see. But she's struggling now with the fact that this Preacher is really going to steal all her creatures, or at least the most relevant ones. Yeah, she really doesn't like it. So what is she going to do? Will she tap for 3 and take 3 damage just to be able to kill the Preacher? Perhaps she really plans to use her mana in her turn, so this could make a lot of sense. On the other hand, I'm feeling very comfortable because she really has to start dealing with my, let's say, quote-unquote threats, even though they are really weak, but the power that their abilities have is immense. And at least I have a 2/2 White Knight that is going to, I don't know, accelerate the clock. So it seems like she came to a decision. She's willing to trade 3 life points to be able to destroy this Preacher. This is how dangerous this creature can be in this matchup. Because if you really think about it, Jeskai Tempo only has access to 1 or 2 creatures usually. The rest is mainly just push this damage while disrupting opposing creatures and opposing spells with Counterspell and Disenchant and Swords to Plowshares. So she decides to play the 3rd land. Good choice, since I already have 3. And her choice for a land is Mistress Factory, which is not so good for me because she can block now. But due to the super fancy first strike ability of White Knight, at least I get to attack this round. Because even if she decides to block, she cannot pump herself. But it's going to be Swords to Plowshares what takes care of the White Knight. Again, very good for me because I really prefer to keep my King Suleimans in this matchup. But I was lucky, I had a 2nd Preacher and now she has to deal with it again. So let's see what she's going to do. I'm also very lucky again because she didn't have double blue to counter my creature due to the fact that Mistress Factory produces only colorless mana. What do you think? Do you think in scenarios like this, would you be in favor of using Mistress Factory as your 3rd land of choice? Or is it probably too risky because you really need your mana to be able to cast your spells? I really wished I found a Disenchant or Divine Offering earlier in the game because I would have loved to destroy that Soul Ring. In this case, I would have constrained the mana curve from Elena even more. Now she's attacking with Mistress Factory, and we're discussing about the issue that I could potentially steal the creature since she only has 1 if I activate my Preacher. But in this particular moment, my Preacher has Summoning Sickness. Oh, I have 1 really nice King Suleiman in my hand, and also Blood Moon, Winds of Change, Swords to Plowshares, Winter Orb. It looks like I can do a lot of stuff. It's up to me to decide. And I believe I want to increase the clock and also prevent any Serendip Ifrit shenanigans by playing the King Suleiman. This is very good for me because I'm going to invest 2 mana in this turn and I will have a creature to deal with whatever she's casting. And if there is no opposing creature in this case, then I will attack. Unfortunately for me, she had 2 open counterspells, 2 open blue mana, so she could counterspell it. But I get to keep my Preacher. So let's see what is going to happen now. Elena is still playing the constraint game of not letting me activate this land tax. So she's wishing to, or choosing to not play more than 3 lands. So I'm choosing, well, it looks like I really, really would love that she plays another land, because this would activate already the engine. I would start spamming everything that I have in my hand, and ultimately I would have a hand of 6 lands and 1 Winds of Change, and then I would recycle again, shuffling and picking more cards to use. But she's being very clever. In this case, I choose to disable her Mishra's Factory with a possible Winter Orb. This would actually disable her Mishra's Factory, so I could attack with my Preacher. But she decides to counter it. I think it's a really wise choice, especially she doesn't have any disenchants. And I can't attack because that Mishra's Factory is annoying. Let's see if I ever find any solution to this. Maybe she decides to attack me? So, alright, she takes 1 damage, takes care of the Preacher. That's something that Jeskai Tempo can do very well. It has main deck 4 pieces of removal, 4 lightning bolts. 12 pieces of removal. Has 4 lightning bolts, 4 psionic blast, and 4 swords to plowshares. It's very likely that she will be able to deal with my creatures. But if she doesn't, my creatures will be able to deal with her creatures. This is what makes this matchup so interesting. So she decides to attack. I'm considering whether I should Swords to Plowshares the Mishra's Factory or take the damage, and I believe I'm going to take the damage because that Swords to Plowshares is very valuable. I know I'm playing against Jeskai Tempo. Jeskai Tempo has Serendip Ifrits, has Serra Angels, and I have absolutely nothing right now to deal with those cards if I were to lose my Swords to Plowshares. So obviously I'm going to take the damage. I'm willing to wait. If she attacks now, my White Knight is going to take care of the Mishra's Factory, which is awesome. This is going to give me enough time to try to draw a little bit more and see if I draw something useful. Here it is, yet another King Suleiman, and this is going to again change the tide on my side, because this releases the pressure that I had on that Swords to Plowshares in case that she would find creatures. Now that Swords to Plowshares has only 1 name and it says Serra Angel, so I'm keeping it in my hand, not pushing the trigger until I see what I really want. Oh, Elena top decked a Serendip Ifrit, which is very unfortunate for her because now she can stare at my King Suleiman, just giving away this headache that he has with this summoning sickness. He can't still react, but he will be able to do it in the next turn. So what is Elena's next move? She seems to have still plenty of blue cards, and she says go. It seems like this staring contest is only going to benefit Boros Taxes, because I just need to draw until I disable everything that she does with Blood Moon or Winter Orb. So she finds that Serra Angel, and now we are in this position again, like in the previous game, where she has to decide whether to keep her defenses up or risk it all and play a Serra Angel and try to start attacking me and punishing me for having such weak creatures that would do absolutely nothing against the Serra Angel. What is her angle here? She can't really cast it. She needs a 2nd white mana. Will she play a land? And in that case, will this turn the game completely into my favor because I will be able to activate land tax? She goes ahead and she pays the price 2 additional life points in order to get 2 white mana. She goes down to 11 and she casts Serra Angel. This is a very strong play. It would definitely make Jeskai Tempo win the game in a few turns, but I do have that Swords to Plowshares that I was saving for that Serra Angel. She notices now that it has to be exiled. But the most important thing is Boros Taxes was able to deal again with yet another threat. She has to gain 4 lives. And it looks like the game is approaching mid-game, so to say. Nothing is really happening. It's just a long exchange of resources. Jeskai Tempo is very much constrained, has a Serendip Ifrit in hand, cannot cast it because King Suleiman is there. My White Knight cannot attack because Mishra's Factory is on the defense. Mishra's Factory cannot attack because my White Knight is on defense. So what else can I do than rather feeling happy because I'm activating land tax? Of course, I pick 3 immediately. This gets me to maximum hand size. And unfortunately, I draw yet another land. This is so unfortunate. But we can see a Blood Moon and a Winds of Change. So my plan, she's tapped. She's completely tapped. And I have a lot of stuff in my hand that I don't need. The only thing that I really need is the Blood Moon. So I'm considering casting the Blood Moon, playing yet another land, and then casting the Winds of Change. This is going to be a very strong play for me in this turn. Since Elena's defenses are down, this is the perfect moment to deploy the biggest piece of hate. But apparently I didn't do it. I don't know why I didn't do it, but it was probably the best moment to do it. Did I not have the Blood Moon in my hand? Wow. Of course, there is one reason. Maybe, yes, now I remember. The reason why I didn't play that Blood Moon is because there is a Chaos Orb lying in the battlefield. And I don't know if you've watched the previous game, but Elena has a completely 100% accuracy with this card, and I'm very scared when Elena has to activate it. So my Blood Moon is as good as dead if I just play it, because Elena's Chaos Orb will take care of it. So I'm looking for something. I'm looking for a way to deal with that Chaos Orb. Since the game is completely stalled and nothing is changing, I thought that the best thing I could do is just to say go, not just throw away, flash my Blood Moon into nothingness, because the Chaos Orb will really, really, really deal with it. Elena is really, really accurate with those Chaos Orbs. So let's see what she decides to do in this turn. Just for the sake of accuracy, that Serra Angel is exiled. Don't worry. We're just for now testing this deck. Boros Taxes. Let me know if you like it. How often do you get to see decks playing White Knights and King Suleimans against decks like Jeskai Tempo and making it so difficult for them to win? To be honest, on my side of the battlefield, this looks very much like any normal White Winnie deck, but we both know this is not the case. And my hand is loaded up with 1 Blood Moon and 1 Winds of Change, getting ready to pull the trigger as soon as I see the opportunity. So Elena plays an additional land. This makes completely sense because basically, if I choose not to play any more lands, I'm going to be able to activate land tax every turn. So the difference between 4 and 5 is nothing. So she's just developing more her mana as long as she can. We can see a recall in her hand, a white card, which I guess is yes, Swords to Plowshares, 2 Psionic Blasts, 1 Serendipity Fruit that can do nothing because of King Suleiman. One possible angle could be to kill the King Suleiman with Psionic Blast, no matter the damage, because that's totally fine, and then immediately after deploying a Serendip Ifrit. That would completely set all her defenses down, and then I could deploy a Blood Moon. So I'm guessing if that were her plan, I believe it would be better to do it at the end of my turn, to cast the Psionic Blast against the King Suleiman, and then in her turn deploy the Serendip Ifrit while still having a possibility to react against something. However, she has no Disenchant and no Counterspell, so she actually has no way to deal with any Blood Moon other than with the Chaos Orb. She chooses to cast Swords to Plowshares instead of Psionic Blast because I'm guessing she's already planning to throw those Psionic Blasts to my face. It was very effective in the previous game to be able to cast direct damage to my face. And now I'm having a problem because that Serendip Ifrit is uncontested. And if she decides to block with Mishra's Factories, then she will be able to attack me with the Serendipity Beefrit, and I have no flying creature. So, knowing that she has, or let's say, putting the hopes on the Serendipity Beefrit that will be able to block, she attacks me with the Mishra's Factory, and that successfully hits me because my White Knight couldn't defend. I'm activating the land tax again with the hopes that I would draw something strong. And even if not, at least I have the bait of casting the Blood Moon. Let's see what I draw. Yet another Blood Moon. This is very good. This is very good. This changes my plans again for the good. Because now I can spam Blood Moon. I can throw it away because I really know Elena's accuracy with Chaos Orb is deadly. So I know I'm flashing my first Blood Moon, but instead of just casting Winds of Change on the go, I just wait. I think I'm going to prefer to discard the lands that I drew, because playing again Blood Moon in the next turn is going to be very, very meaningful, very strong. I don't have any hopes whatsoever on my Blood Moon surviving in the battlefield. So she decides to activate her Chaos Orb. And let's see, yes. Just like I said, like it's impossible. Elena has 100% accuracy with this card. I don't know what she does. This is deadly. So I knew I was doing that. And I'm willing to get the hit from Serendipity Beefrit during this turn just to be able to deploy again yet another Blood Moon in the next turn. Let's see how Elena develops her game. She draws Savannah Lions. That's not bad. Although in this situation, it's also not so good. Probably it's one of the worst cards to draw. Maybe a Lightning Bolt would have been ideal to cast it on the White Knight and then push even more damage through. Instead, she decides to keep the Mishra's Factory as a blocker and pushes 3 damage. There's nothing I can do against that other than saying okay. And she plays yet another land. That's totally fine because, again, it doesn't create any difference other than giving me the chance to play more lands. But apparently, I'm not doing it. Maybe because I'm preparing a massive Winds of Change that will give me all the goodies that I need afterwards. Let's see. So I believe her train of thought could be, do I kill this White Knight or not? If I do I go to 8 lives? Will I use this card later on? And instead, she decides to cast Recall, attempting to pick back Lightning Bolt and Ancestral Recall. This is a very strong move. She's going to discard Savannah Lions and Psionic Blast. The Savannah Lions we discussed, they were not so helpful right now, but the Psionic Blast could have been helpful. However, she prefers to have a pair, 1 Psionic Blast and 1 Lightning Bolt, probably because she also realizes she doesn't want to be taking damage from the Psionic Blast as much if she wants to deal with the White Knight. She reconsiders. Yes, she reconsiders because the Lightning Bolt could have been used as removal, but in the case that I would play another another Blood Moon, she wouldn't have any way to answer it. And Chaos Orb is really the way to answer it. So that's bad news for me because I waited 1 extra turn to be able to cast the second Blood Moon. Who could have known that Elena would just pick yet another Chaos Orb, and she is deadly with it. So I activate this again because I start foreseeing that there's nothing else I can do rather than playing Winds of Change this turn. And hopefully it will not be countered. I believe in this moment I start thinking that this is going to have to be a YOLO move. If the game continues progressing like this, Elena is going to win. Now we are considering what to do with how to tap and so on. Oh yes, she was deciding that probably the best choice would have been to cast Chaos Orb in the previous turn. I'm sorry guys if you get disturbed by going back in time sometimes, but I'm guessing that maybe you also do it with friends when you realize you've made a mistake. Since we are here both learning how this new archetype works, we are a bit confused, both of us. But in this case, she decided to play the Chaos Orb, and now it's going to pay off because I'm casting the Blood Moon and also the Winds of Change. She can't counter it, but that's fine because she can still use a Chaos Orb to destroy the Blood Moon. So we're shuffling now. I'm going to draw a massive amount of 9 cards. This is amazing. Hopefully it will be not all lands like I had in my hand. And Elena is only going to draw 2. Hopefully nothing good. Let's see. It's so crazy that this engine works so well. And it works, it tolls a lot on the opponent's patience, because if Elena would have committed to not playing more than 3 lands, of course I wouldn't have been able to do all of these things. So my hand looks very good. I have some Swords to Plowshares to deal with the opposing creatures that I couldn't do before. Yet another Winds of Change that I can use in the next turns because I know I can continue activating land tax. This enchant for that Chaos Orb, that's amazing. And I also have 2 Relic Barriers that could deal with either the Sol Ring or any other opposing artifact. Alright, so I'm in my turn and I'm trying to decide what's going on. And I think I'm going to cast Swords to Plowshares now. Reason being that there is obviously a chance that Elena has drawn a counterspell, and I really don't want to take any more damage. I've realized that this deck has a really bad really bad options dealing with direct damage. It has no life gain and it kills very slowly. So I'm willing to cast the Swords to Plowshares as soon as possible so that she cannot counter it. Okay, this was a test. She told me this was a test. This was not a test. Yes, this was a test. But this one fails. This was the right one. This one was the right one. This is the first time ever in history. It's the first time ever in history that she misses with the Chaos Orb. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Guys, this is a historic moment. So I decide to discard a land tax. And I'm not casting that Swords to Plowshares. Alright. It made sense that I would do it right now because the damage that she would get, it's not so relevant. Maybe I have another card in my hand that I didn't see. If I do have a Preacher in my hand, then I'm planning definitely to steal that Serendip Ifrit. So let's see what's going on. She has a lot of mana. Which are the 2 cards that she found? She has to activate the Mizra's Factory in order to... Okay, so it's a Psionic Blast. She also has another Serendip Ifrit. She attacks and says go. She didn't cast a second Serendip Ifrit. I wonder why. Under the Blood Moon, everything is mountains. And I drew yet another Blood Moon. Oh my god. So let's see what I choose. I choose to cast that Preacher, so it was like this. I had a Preacher in my hand. I didn't want to cast Swords to Plowshares on Serendip Ifrit because I'm planning to steal it. And my White Knight could attack because the Mizra's Factory is a mountain. The plan is working. The Boros Taxes plan is working. As long as Blood Moon can deal with opposing Mizra's factories and lands and disable my opponent's opportunities, I can do mostly anything I want. And what I choose to do is to cast a Relic Barrier and attack again with the White Knight. And Preacher can steal this Elena Befrit at any moment. So of course she decides to attack before going into combat, before declaring attackers. I choose to steal it. And she has only 1 life left. Is this the end? Is this the end? Is this the win for Boros Taxes? Let's see what's going to happen. She has all mountains. She can't react with anything. She doesn't have blue. She doesn't have any spell that could kill, or white that could kill Elena Befrit. And that's it. That's game. That's the end of the Boros Taxes Jeskai Tempo matchup. And it was great. It was working how it was intended. Basically, the Blood Moon disabled her lands in a key moment. It was very unfortunate for her that she didn't have the 100% accuracy on Chaos Orb that I expected, and she couldn't deal with the Blood Moon. I was lucky I drew a third one, and nevertheless, yes, I think this was a great matchup. This shows how powerful these creatures are. The King Suleimans, the Preachers, casting the first White Knights at the beginning so that they get the removal from Jeskai Tempo. This was a great game. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you would have played differently, if you have already spotted any flaw in my strategy, or if you have already spotted any flaw in the deck list of Boros Taxes. Let me know. I will be very happy to improve it even more. So please support me on Patreon and also subscribe if you like these videos. I'm planning to do many more. So that's it. See you in the next one.